Good evening, everyone. Before we begin, let me introduce myself briefly. My name is Peter Alendra, and today I'd like to talk to you about my translation project proposal. Okay, next, first of all, I will begin by outlining the background of the project, and then I will continue by briefly explaining the summary of the novel text and what the potential challenges might face for the student translator, and then to finish, I'll discuss the strategy and the solution for student translator to overcome challenges in translated novels like this. The first is the background of the project. The novel written by Aldous Huxley, Novel Sky Like This, is one of the fascinating books I have read. Since I can translate while enjoying the book, for that reason I'm interested in translating this book. And then next, I like to talk about the student translator experience. The results of the Student Translator Academy Speaking, Reading, Listening, and Writing tests are A and A-min. The student translator also conduct an online TOEFL test at English Domestic with a score of 500. Student translator takes elective courses in the translation class and also attends webinars on the ins and outs of literary translation to increase the knowledge of the world of translation. Interest in reading is very important to build children's habit of reading. Based on Susanto 2014, in the research of teori belajar and pembelajaran di sekolah dasar, interest in a factor that significantly influence learning success. The importance of interest in building a positive reading habit. Children also need to understand the contents reading of the book to be read, so that it can help children to get a good and quality book reading. At this point, the student translator wants to produce a translation work that can attract attention and convey the story message from the book Sky Like This to the target readers. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. I will briefly explaining the summary of the novel text and hope you can have a glimpse of the content of the story. Sky Like This. 12 years old Jet's perfect summers have always been spent reading and watching TV reruns, so she is not happy when her parents send her off to Wyoming to her aunt's house. She meets a boy who calls himself Roy Parker, a supposed descendant of Butch Cassidy. Roy's that hardware store has closed because a chain store has opened up in town, and Roy has a whole slew of cowboy plans to set things right. He thinks it is just like the big cattle barons in Butch Day who put the local ranchers out of business. He wants that to be his son and kid and help him pull some stunt worthy of Butch Cassidy. This is one Wild West summer that is sure to change Roy and Jet forever. And then next, I like to talk about the potential challenge that translator may face. The challenges in translation can be classified into 5 types as follows. The first, the challenges of translating culture-specific item words in novel, and then the second, challenges in identifying figurative language element in the source language text, and then the third, the challenge of translating idiomatic figures in the text of the novel Sky Like This, and then the fourth, the challenge of translating pronoun sentence that affect the concept of politeness in language, and then the last, the challenge of translating certain accent or language styles. Okay, and the next, let's move on and discuss about the solution and the strategy of student translator to deal with the potential translation challenge. The method used by translator based on the theory of expert is are Newmark 1988 and Molina and Albert 2002. And then as shown in the slide on the screen, the first potential challenge, student translator will use borrowing strategy to deal problem in translating text that contain culture-specific items. The second challenge, student translator will use semantic translation and communicative translation method to face the challenges in figurative language. And then the third potential challenge, the student translator will use the idiomatic translation method to translate words containing idiomatic big word. And then the fourth, the student translator will use transposition and free translation strategies to avoid repeating pronouns in the source language. And then the fifth, potential translation challenge, the student translator will use a pure borrowing strategy. Finally, the student translator has made an execution plan to detail the translation to be done. There are 5 steps. The execution plan as follows. Step 1, prepare for the implementation of the translation project by reading the entire story of the novel Sky Like This. And then the step 2, student translator will start writing project proposal. And then the step 3, the student translator hold a translation project proposal hearing. And the step 4, student translator begin translating the text of novel Sky Like This and providing guidance in writing the final project translation. And then the step 5, the student translator will hold a final project translation session. These are the execution plan that I have made. That's the presentation that I brought. Please apologize if there is an incorrect or imperfectly in my presentation. I'd like to thank to Mr. Yos and all of my classmates for listening to my presentation. Thank you very much. Thank you.